Hey everybody, it's Noah with the Zone Podcast again. Today I got on Jake. Go ahead, tell us a little about yourself and what brought you into door to door.
For sure. Yeah. So my name is Jake Stevenson. I grew up in Kentucky my whole life. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky area, and got connected with Noah uh, just a few weeks ago, just on Instagram, on social media. I run the Door to Door Financial Instagram page, and just like networking and connecting with people in the door to door space. And I came across Noah, and he convinced me to hop on and kind of tell my story. Just kind of what I'm building with Door to Door Financial. There's some exciting stuff coming up that we're building, but yeah, I mean, my background in door to door, like I said, I grew up in Kentucky. I went to college, graduated from Western Kentucky University, graduated spring of 2020. So right when COVID hit is when I graduated, and I had studied marketing and entrepreneurship. So I always knew I had a passion for starting my own business and kind of being my own boss at some point in my life. And I had always been told like sales is probably the best route to go if you don't really know what direction you want to do and you want to be like in entrepreneurship. You probably should get some sales skills. That's what I was always told. I took one sales class in college and it just changed my life, just changed my perspective on how I wanted to kind of approach my career and what I wanted to do in life. So 2020, COVID hit, didn't really have a whole lot of opportunities lined up as far as work. I didn't want to go down the 9 to 5 corporate route. And I went to a career fair one day, and there was a company there called Amp Smart. They do smart home security. They've recently merged with Titanium, and they've gotten big into the solar space as well. But they just kind of, I started meeting with them. They said, hey, man, if you come out, you're going to get some really good sales experience, and you have the potential to make some decent money as well. So I made the trip out to Austin, Texas, for my first summer. So drove in my truck all the way from Kentucky to Austin, Texas. Had no idea what I was really getting myself into. They just kind of had handed us a script. They threw us in an Airbnb full of 30 guys and said, go knock this neighborhood and we'll pick you up when it gets dark, and just give us a call if you get into a house. So that was the bulk of my training, and just kind of was flying by the seat of my pants, just trying to figure it out. And I just remember the first few weeks being out there, I was really kind of in my head and doubting myself, like thinking like, am I doing the right thing? Is this job even legit? And with COVID going on, like, am I doing the right thing? Should I be home? I don't even know if this is going to work out. So I started to see some small wins and just getting into houses, kind of getting further in the process, and really just became obsessed with the job. Just got really competitive and started putting in a lot of hours practicing beyond just being on the doors, just role playing with people, listening to like sales audio books, like every time I wasn't on the doors, and just wanted to kind of prove myself that I could do this and I could make it. So a few weeks later into the summer, I started to see that momentum, kind of that snowball effect that a lot of people see like in sales. Once it clicks, they kind of start to see some momentum. I finished that summer as one of the top rookies in the company. I think I was like number 2 or 3, made about like $25,000-$30,000 in just like 4 or 5 months. So not a whole lot of money, but at the time it had really just kind of changed my life and just my perspective and what I wanted to do with my life. And I stuck with Amp Smart for 3 years. So went on the road, traveled around the country, went on blitzes, really had the full door-to-door experience, trained, recruited, helped run a sales summer team. Our second summer was in Nashville, Tennessee. Lived there for about a year. And then the last summer I was a part of was in Savannah, Georgia. We traveled all throughout Georgia. But there was just a point in my life where I had been on the doors and traveling for 3 years straight, and just wanted to kind of prioritize my relationship at the time and move back home to Kentucky. So fast forwarding to this past year, got married this past April. We just bought our first house a couple months ago. So a lot of big life changes in my world, and just continuing to build and grow this business has been a ride, and it's been incredible. Awesome.
Nice. So you said something interesting about the college aspect. You took a sales class in college. What was that like?
Yeah, I had always been in like an introvert in school. Most of my studies and my background was focused on marketing. So I had done a lot of graphic design, video, photography. And I always knew like I'm good at this marketing part, but I'm not the best at like communicating and like selling myself. And I think that's something that I should learn. And it was a requirement in my marketing degree to take a sales class. Um, I'll never forget this professor. Chris Derry was his name, and he just had the highest energy at like 8 a.m. It was an 8 a.m. class, so like he came into the room all fired up and was excited. And how he taught his class is he would teach a lesson, and then he would have us the second part of the week have to present and teach the class what he just taught us. And then he would record us presenting to the class. He would take notes, and then we would have to watch ourselves present and take notes and kind of rate ourselves on like what we could have done better as far as like communication, our energy, our gestures, if we were walking around the room. So it was just it was tough, and it really put me like in a zone, like it really made me uncomfortable. And that's really when I started to see like, man, I see a ton of huge kind of shift for me in my life and what I wanted to do.
Yeah, most people in the industry I've seen, they've been like, yeah, I don't really go to college or wanted to go to college. I mean, I didn't go to college at all. I just went straight into door to door. Um, and it's an interesting story because you went into door to door from college. And I think it's interesting. A lot of the Vivint smart home guys, all those people would actually go to the colleges and set up shop over there. So I'm guessing you saw one of like their shops or whatever, and then they were like, "Hey, let's go to Austin."
Yeah, well, AMP was at my career fair, and I was graduating that summer. So I know there are a lot of door-to-door companies and programs where they do like the internship, like come out for the summer, and I think that's a great idea. I think if somebody's in school, whether you want to go full time into sales or if you have a different passion of yours, like if you want to be a
Mhm.
lawyer, a doctor, whatever you want to be in life, I think door to door is the best opportunity for you at a young age just to get that exposure to sales. Because I think there's anything that you do in life is there's going to be some sort of sales attached to it. You have to sell yourself,
Right.
whether you get into I don't know, working for a company. You have to be able to sell the product and be able to work your way up the ladder. If you want to climb the corporate ladder, there's sales attached to that. So, door to door is just a great opportunity to make good money during the off season while you're out of school. To, like if you want to pay for school, but just developing that skill set they're going to use for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, kind of switching gears a little bit. I know, what is like your most interesting customer interaction that you've had on those doors when you've, had those sink or swim moments, and then like had some interesting people that you met along the way?
For sure. Yeah. So I would say one of the craziest stories that I have just being in door to door, and it's kind of more focused on just a crazy week and just I don't know, just the momentum part of being in door to door and the highs and lows that everybody faces. I This was in my second year. I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and really wasn't seeing a whole lot of success one week. I was just kind of in my head and was working with management on how I could get out of this sales slump. And I think I only had like one deal on the week, and it was going into like Saturday. And they had
Mm.
always said like, "Oh, Saturdays are your best days. Like you're gonna crush it. You're gonna kill it." And I was honestly pissed off. I was frustrated with myself that I wasn't performing. So going into that Saturday, I was ready to go. Once we left the like correlation, our team training, like I was probably the first one on the doors. I drove myself, skipped the gas station, went straight to the doors and hit it early. So I think my first door I knocked was probably like 9:30, maybe 10 a.m., which isn't super early, but I just started to see some momentum. So I got my first deal by like 11. Kept knocking, kept knocking. People weren't home, and then I got my second deal around like 1 o'clock. And it just was it was bizarre. I was just having like this out of body experience, just kind of going through the motions, and these were people that needed this product, and I just had this conviction, and I wasn't going to let anybody tell me no, and I was just excited, and people could kind of feel that energy. So as I go throughout my day, I get my third one by about I think like 3 o'clock, and and most people in door to door, they once they get two or three and they have a good day, that they kind of let off the gas and they take it easy. They go get lunch. They kind of take the day off and just kind of relish in what they've done already. But I was so frustrated with just not having a good week. I just kept going. And usually we end our Saturdays around, I don't know, like 5, 6 o'clock, like a little bit earlier so that we can kind of hang out. I ended up staying out later and got my fourth deal, I think around like 5 o'clock. And then my sixth deal, I ended up getting around like 9 o'clock. Like it was pitch black. And these people were having a housewarming party. Like they had just bought this house like a week ago. They didn't have any furniture. They had a bunch of people over and they were just drinking. And here I come walking up the street, just knocking on their door. And it was something that they were just thinking about. It was like perfect timing, and it was one of those things where I'd already had momentum, and I kind of thought about letting off the gas and going home and calling it a day. Four was a great day, but I just kept going and slammed that fifth one in. I think the install finished at like 10, 11 o'clock on a Saturday. And it was a crazy day. It was good.
They were having a party. Did you join them?
Oh yeah, a little bit. I can't lie.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what's interesting about yours versus other door-to-door guys, and especially my experience, I'm going on like my first blitz in the next 10 days, but I've been in it for like 4 years, even doing it by myself. And I've always had the year long thing. I've never had the blitz mentality. What do you think? Have you had that where you're, I guess since you worked there for a while, you had that year long and then you went on some blitzes. What's kind of like the different mentality between those that you've
Yeah,
noticed?
that's a good question. The way our program was structured is we had a summer program. So we would start
Mhm.
around like April, May, and we would go until September, October. It was like a 20-week program. And that was like our main selling season. And this was for alarms. So, um, but during the off season, we would have at least 1 week out of the month, we would go somewhere and travel and do like a blitz and rent an Airbnb and sell in a market like Colorado, Arizona, wherever we were at the time. um, it's tough because it's easier to break up kind of the way you sell into these
Mhm.
blitz programs, but it's also harder to get into these flows of finding momentum. Because I know there was times where I would go on a blitz and I would bagel, or I'd have like one or two deals, and it wasn't really worth the trip. But in the summer program, or if you have this discipline to do a year round program, you can really start to see these waves and the highs and lows of sales.
Mhm.
And you can really take advantage and capitalize and double down and start to really see what you do well and how to tap into that and accelerate. I think it's a little tougher with the blitz model to go on these trips, not find any success, and then kind of go home and you have to find another job or find a different opportunity. And you don't really have the opportunity and you don't have enough time to really evaluate what you did well and what you could have done better and start to make small improvements like you can during the
Mhm.
summer, if that makes sense.
Hmm. So you think it's better if you were speaking to somebody who's like in college, or maybe they're, just doing a job right now, you would say probably go to that summer trip first and then see if you like it and then do the door to door for the year long thing?
100%. And I'd say there's a couple of reasons attached to that. A summer model, it I what I would say about a summer model is that it really puts you in a different position where you're getting uncomfortable. You're having to relocate for I don't know, however long it is, 4 or 5 months, going to a different city, living with a bunch of people
Mhm.
that you don't know. It's pretty uncomfortable, but you start to see that there's culture attached to it. There's that camaraderie, and you start to see people that fall off and don't make it. They're not a good fit for door to door sales, and then some people kind of rise against the ranks and are some of the best people in the door to door space and top rookies in the industry. I think that's where a lot of the best people in the door to door space probably come from is those programs where they can actually join a team and kind of get committed to a summer program where it's fight or flight and they have to figure it
Mhm.
out. Whereas with a blitz model, it's a little bit tougher. You have to have a lot more self discipline. Whereas with these summer programs, I think there's a lot more structure and culture and leadership and trainings, if you're a part of a good team, all that leads to the team's success. And I think it's a little bit tougher to find that in a blitz model or a year-round program where people are kind of out on their own.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed that, like, even looking at some of the successful people in the industry, like if they've gone on those blitzes, it's like burning the boat. So you have to become a successful human being in that. So
Mhm.
kind of moving back to like the financial spot, even tell me a little bit about like how you found a problem and then what you did to train to help other people.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I moved back to Louisville after my 3 year run in door to door and just wanting to take a break and prioritize my relationship, I had always had a passion for like personal finance and I was always, I would say, decent with my money, just like budgeting and not spending it all. And I'd say that's why I did pretty well in door to door. Is I made decent amount of money, but then I was really good about saving it. And I just saw a lot of people around me just kind of getting caught in these cycles, living summer to summer, making decent money in 4 or 5 months, and then during the off season, they're just kind of spending it all. They're traveling, they're buying cars, they're developing all these bad habits and getting into this stupid debt, and then they're having to commit to another summer, and they just kind of do it all again. And there's people in the industry that I know, and I'm sure you know as well, that have been in the industry 10 plus years, and they just have nothing to show for it. They don't have like any investments. There's no like wealth that they've built, even though they've made multiple six figures every summer. It just
Yeah.
didn't make sense to me. So um, when I was back home, just kind of looking at different opportunities, there was an opportunity in Louisville for me to join this firm that was just getting started in Louisville. And I decided just to kind of look into it, see the opportunity, and see what they had to offer. I knew that there was a way for me to kind of utilize the sales skills that I developed in door to door and kind of apply it to the financial industry.
Mhm.
Um, Once I got into the door or into the financial space, I just started thinking about who I should target my audience to and who I could help and who I could work with. And naturally, coming from the door to door space, I just started talking with a lot of my friends and people that I knew in the door to door space and just kind of asking them, like, hey, what do you think is the biggest challenge for people in door to door, like with their finances? Like, what's something that you see that they struggle with? And uh, some of the biggest things that I heard from people was just like budgeting. Like they just don't know how to
Yeah.
cash flow. It's a seasonal income. It's inconsistent. There's highs and lows to it, so it's hard for them to budget and kind of flat. I don't know, level out their expenses to know what's coming in and what's going out. Another big one was taxes. Taxes was confusing as hell for me. Like I had no idea what I was doing with my taxes. My manager just said, "Hey, this is the guy that I use, and he'll write everything off for you because there's so many expenses that you can deduct." And I didn't really
Mm.
have a good understanding of it. I would say the third part is just investing. We're always
Right.
told like, oh, you should open a Roth. Oh, you should be investing. You should get into real estate. This is what my manager did. He has this many properties, but you really don't even know like how to get started or like where you even begin. It's like I know I should be doing this Roth thing, but I don't even know how it works.
Right.
So just to kind of take it back, that was probably the biggest issue that I saw in the door to door space was people not really having any direction, any guidance. Maybe there was some teams and organizations that had good leadership and good like managers and regional managers that were able to give a lot of advice and input to the people that they mentored, but not everybody has that. So that was my reason behind creating door to door financial, is just to be an educator and a resource in the space, to help people kind of think through and avoid a lot of the issues that I made in the space, and just think through like cash flow budgeting. How can we get into the habit and have this discipline to where this isn't an issue? And then we can start to think long term. We can start to plan. We can begin to fund that Roth. We can begin to think long term and fund, save for retirement. We're not going to knock doors till we're 50, 60 years old, I hope. So
Yeah.
what does that exit strategy look like? So those are the types of conversations that we have with people every day.
Hmm. So even getting into that a little deeper, like having those conversations, how are you? Because I mean, sales is pretty much coaching, right? So like, what type of things have you taken from the sales aspect, and then applied it to the coaching? Because it seems like you got to get people to commit like to themselves and commit to those budgeting, commit to those end goals. Like what type of, I don't want to say tactics, but I'm going to say tactics because I can't think of another word.
Yeah, no. Well, I would say I'm honestly learning a lot because
Yeah.
it's different. It's completely different from being on the doors. Because when I was doing alarm sales, it's pretty transactional. I mean, I have a product, you have a need. You're creating a relationship in 30 minutes, and then you're out, and then you'll never see that person again.
Right.
Whereas what we're building with door to door financial, it's completely different. I'm building a relationship with somebody that I hope to work with them their entire life. I'm going to help them establish this financial foundation and then grow with them. And we're going to continue to have conversations throughout every money decision that they make. So I'm having to learn a lot, to be honest with you. It's very different from what I learned in door to door. Like obviously there are like things that I took away, I would just say like being confident in myself and being
Mhm.
able to communicate effectively and just being able to market myself. I'm honestly tapping into a lot of the skills that I had developed in college with marketing and social media, like graphic design and video. So I'm enjoying kind of the mix of, I don't know, everything that I've kind of learned along the way with door to door and social media marketing and finance kind of all coming together.
Let's go in a little bit deeper on social media because I know it's a little difficult for a lot of people to start that following and what are some of the things that have like if you could go back to your older self and tell him like when he was first getting started in social media, like starting door to door financial, what would you say to that younger self?
Mm. If I could go back and talk to like my younger self when I was getting started with door to door financial, I would just say like, man, it's just consistency. You just need to have that consistency of posting daily, at
Mhm.
least, to really put out that message. And on top of that, it's engaging with your audience. I think it's a lot of people approach social media with that mindset of, oh, I just need to create a bunch of content and engage with people. But there's another level to it. You also need to know your audience. You need to know who you're targeting. So that's been really helpful with me and growing my financial book of business is just having an audience and a niche market to target. So I know exactly what they need help with and who I'm talking to. I came from that industry, so there's a lot of things that I can relate to with them. And just being present. Just my approach to really social media is just I will be seen. I'm gonna
Right.
put out content to where you're gonna see my posts, and I'm gonna engage with you and build this relationship.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've even dealt with is like because you even said knowing your audience, everything like that. We're both in kind of like a niched market, so it's like, um, those videos. Like I've ran a few like theme pages in the past and got like 2 million views on them, stuff like that. And now when I run this, it's like okay, cool. I'm hitting like when I hit a viral video, I'm hitting like 10K. And I have to remind myself, I have to be like, okay, well, this is really good. This is a personal brand. This is like 10K views is pretty good for somebody who's starting out and then also the niche that you're in because if you're in like the fitness industry, you can get a video that's at 10 million, 2 million views, stuff like that. That's like a really good viral video that you're shooting for. But even for you, like you wouldn't I don't even know if you would want 1 million views on your video because those would be people that are not really interested in what you're doing, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that there's some value to focusing on a smaller group and they
Yeah.
see value in that as well. If I was just marketing to everybody saying, "Hey, come talk to me about financial planning," it's not as effective. But me being able to focus and nail down on one market, I think that they see value in that as well. So whenever they do see my page, they think, "Oh, Jake's the door to door financial guy. He knows." He's been in my shoes, he's been in door to door, and now he's working with people and helping them think through their finances. So I think that there's value to having a smaller market for sure.
And even with having that smaller market, we look at people like Taylor McCarthy and it's like you would think by looking at his YouTube channel, he's got like 100K followers and he's
Right,
got
right.
like he's getting a million on views, or like not a million, but maybe like 500K views and stuff like that. But then you look at it, it's like, okay, cool. This guy's got like 14K on YouTube.
Mhm.
But every door to door guy, every guy who's in solar knows who this guy is.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Um, so I think you have to get out of your head sometimes, and I even have some struggles with that as well. But
Mhm.
for anybody who's out there, I mean, you just got to be able to go after that specific market and know where you're actually targeting.
For sure.
Um, Kind of switching gears a little bit again for one of my last questions is like, where do you utilize AI in your business right now?
That's a good question. Um, this is definitely something I'm experimenting with today, and just trying to find efficiencies, because I mean I'm learning that there's only so many hours in a day that you can work, and there's times where I work crazy hours, and then my wife just wants to have dinner and hang out, and I'm still trying to, like, I don't know, create some content or finish up a plan or an email. So I think AI is really powerful in finding efficiencies in your business. And some of the things that I've been experimenting with is just having AI take notes during my meetings.
Mhm.
Uh, I take a lot of notes, like, on paper, and then I want to be able to move it into my CRM to where I can kind of track everything and have it a little bit more organized. So AI has been really helpful in just having it, like, record the meeting. So if I need to go back, I can kind of, I don't know, analyze how the conversation went, what I could have done better, or if there's a detail in there that I might have missed in my notes, AI is there to kind of have a summary of what we talked about. One that I use is called Otter AI. So
Mhm.
I can actually write to it and say, like, what are the action items of this meeting, or like what were the major takeaways, and it can kind of condense it based on what I asked specifically. So that's been really helpful, and I'm definitely open to learning other AI tools that I should be using, but I think that that's going to really change this industry, and I mean AI is going to change several industries, but I think the financial industry as well. There's not a whole lot of firms that are using it quite yet, but I
Mhm.
think that as it progresses and as it grows, and especially with a younger audience that's kind of growing up in this space of this digital world, they're going to be accustomed to it and almost expect it eventually, having these tools that they can use, or the advisor can use for their own practice.
Yeah. What do you I've asked a lot of people, multiple people, about how they think AI is going to affect the door to door industry. And I think when we first got on the phone, I was like, there's a bad stigma around it where it's like it's only for online closers. It's not for door to door. Where do you think AI might help door to door instead of hinder door to door?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I don't think it will ever replace door-to-door sales. I think
Mhm.
it will enhance it and add, like I said, add efficiencies. I think that's where AI is really what it's best at. I don't think
Right.
it's going to necessarily replace the human interactions that we have. I think that's almost impossible. People buy on the door because of who you are, and and just your energy and how you present yourself, and the conversations that you have and the relationship that you build, even if it's in 5 minutes. I think that there's value to that, and I think AI is just going to be another tool that somebody's going to use. There's some tools that I've heard of to where it's like a voice memo on steroids, where
Right.
you can record your pitch. AI is going to translate it. It's going to actually write it out, transcribe it, and then your managers will have access to it to where they can type in notes, they can add input, they can actually highlight a part of your pitch and say, this is maybe how you could rephrase this. So I think it's
Mhm.
just going to enhance training and how we approach people on the doors and just how we track things. I don't think it's necessarily going to replace it.
I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, even with that, like door to door, I mean, I've had several experiences where people even working from home, they'll like sit out there and just talk with you, and they might not buy, but they're like they want that human interaction. I don't know. Do you think the door to door industry is growing?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've noticed more and more as I begin to network more with people in the space and talk to people that have been in the industry for 10, 20 plus years. almost every one of them says, "Man, this industry's changed so much, but it's growing. It's like expanding in a huge way."
I think a lot of people just like they want that human interaction. So like as we're going up with more technology, as we're moving and moving and moving, we're still gonna move like DoorDash is gonna move with it because
Mhm,
it's like, hey, they you still want another person. I mean, we're not gonna get to the point unless it's like direct to consumer, um, where you don't have some sort of like person selling because it can't it's that argument of like, yeah, it could hit all the perfect lines of the pitch. It could hit all the perfect lines of every single spot in the sale, but then it's too perfect. Then the person's like, what the heck is this? I don't no, it makes me feel uncomfortable.
mhm.
So I think it'll always be there.
Yep.
But other than that, I've loved having you on. Everybody check them out. I'm gonna have the links in the description. If you're watching on Facebook or if you see this on Facebook, your name's gonna be right there, and you can click on his name, and then it'll take you to his Facebook. But other than that, I appreciate you coming on, Jake. You have anything left for the audience?
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Noah. And yeah, love connecting with people in the door to door space. So check out my Instagram. That's most of where I post content. It's door to door financial, door the number two, door financial. And then there's a link in my bio to where, I mean, you can contact me directly. We can hop on a call, and I just like connecting with people and hearing their story and door to door.
Cool. Well, other than that, I'll catch you guys later.